Good morning and welcome to the Morning Scoop for Wednesday, November 3rd. This is your daily Buckeye fix. I'm Tom Orr. The Nebraska game is in 3 days. The game against Michigan in 24 days. The first college football playoff rankings of the year came out last night. Tony Gerdeman, Kevin Noon, and I released a live episode of Buckeye Weekly all about that, so you can get all the playoff talk you could possibly want there. Today, we're going to be taking a look instead back at the Penn State game and a look ahead at Nebraska. Ohio State head coach Ryan Day held his usual Tuesday press conference, and there was a lot of interesting stuff to talk about, so you're just going to be hearing from him today. The first topic was the challenges that the offensive line faced against Penn State, especially when they were trying to run the ball. Now, this audio and video of the press conference all comes courtesy of Ohio State.
We ended up, when you look at the stat sheet, pretty good in that area, but just the efficiency, I think we were less than 50% efficient running the ball in terms of the number of runs. And, listen, Penn State has done a good job for years with that, and this year is no exception. They have a good front, they have good movement, and I think we were 34 and 34 in terms of plays, pass and run, and we're always looking for that balance, and that's important to be able to control the game, and we have to be able to stay on schedule and stay efficient in the run game, and again, whether it's communicating up front, whether it's handling looks that we haven't seen and making those adjustments. That's all important, and I think we did that, especially in the second half. You can see that we made some really good adjustments in that area and hit some big runs, which was very, very important in controlling that game in the second half. But that's what you have to do in these games. You just can't throw it 70% of the time, or else you're not going to control the game, and I think that's important. But sometimes you have to stick with it and keep working through the tough things, and when you're going against a team like Penn State, that's not always easy.
After the game, Day said it was the defense that really won the game for the Buckeyes. After going back and watching the film, did he think that was one of the best defensive performances they've had all year?
I think they had good plays for sure. There's still a lot to improve on, and we're going out against a very good defense this week. This is, I think it's the second-ranked offense in terms of total yards in a conference. They do a great job, and Martinez has played a lot of football, and they have a very good scheme. So we'll see. I think there was a lot of positives for sure. Certainly anytime you create the turnovers we did and get defensive scores, you put our team in a much better position to win. So I think that it's continuing to build, but we've got to continue to, stay disciplined and stay on it. And, we talk a lot about white belt mentality of just starting right at the beginning and starting with fundamentals every week when you start. And we got to do that on defense again this week because we got a good team.
Jackson Smith-Njigba was the only player on offense to grade out as a champion against Penn State. Now, that's pretty unusual in a win, especially against a good opponent. So did the coaching staff kind of fudge those numbers to really send a message to the offense that the play wasn't acceptable? And then you'll also hear a follow-up question from Austin Ward of Letterman Row.
No, I think that's something that we talked about early in the season, is that we have a standard here. And in order for you to be a champion, you have to play over 15 plays and grade over 80%. And we had one guy on offense. That was it. And we can try to make people feel better, but that's not the way this game works. And so guys got to be held accountable. The position coaches got to be held accountable for their units. Each guy's got to be held accountable to do their job at over 80% in terms of execution, and that didn't happen. I think if it does, it's a whole different game. But I think that the message is also that, to win ugly like that says a lot about our character and who we are as a team. We didn't just splinter, fall apart, start pointing fingers. We played against a good defense. We didn't execute as well as we'd like to have, but we still won the game against a very good opponent, and says a lot about this team.
I know that the win is obviously the most important thing, but how powerful of a motivator do you think grading a champion is for an individual?
I don't know, but I think they take a lot of pride in it. Our meetings are pretty juiced up in here. We have a lot of fun with it. The guys who win, everybody in the room understands that if you grade a champion, there's a lot that goes into that. It isn't just playing well on that day. It's the whole year. It's the sacrifices. It's the lifting. It's the running. It's the preparation in order to be at competitive excellence on that Saturday. And we whoop it up in here, have a lot of fun, bring them down, laugh, and then show clips of those guys playing well. And I think they take a lot of pride in it. I do.
Nebraska has played a ton of close games this year. Now they're 3-6 on the year, but every one of their losses has been by 8 points or less. So it's probably safe to say they're better than the record might indicate. So how do you get the Buckeye team motivated for an opponent with a bad record who might still be kind of dangerous? You'll hear Day's answer to that. And then you'll hear a follow-up question from Bill Rabinowitz of the Columbus Dispatch.
Well, you just talk to them about it, and you show them the film, and these guys are sharp. Like you said, they haven't lost a game by, I think it's more than 8 points. So these guys are very good, and you can look at the record if you want, or you can watch the film and realize what you got here. But they need to understand that it is March Madness. And so you watch across the country week in and week out, a lot of things have happened this year. And so we can't let that happen to us, and we can't have any regrets. And the only way to do that is to focus on right now and not be distracted. If you start looking ahead, if you start worrying about tomorrow, that's where you get distracted, and we got to stay disciplined in that area.
After the game, if you thought that close call would be good for your team, now you've had a few days, you've watched the film. What's your sense of it? Will this help you think?
I hope so. We'll see how this week goes, and how this practice week goes, and if we can get guys to really dig in and understand that we have a chance to be really good. We beat a good Penn State team and didn't play our best football. And so I hope that catapults us into this week and into this game and really helps us take off into the month of November.
Early in the second half of the Buckeyes' win over Penn State, Ohio State linebacker Steele Chambers was called for targeting, so he had to sit out the rest of the second half, and he will miss the entire first half of the Nebraska game as well. That potentially opens up a chance for linebacker Palaie Gaoteote to finally take a bigger role. He's kind of been he's been kind of a role player for them so far, but with kind of thin depth at linebacker right now, and Gaoteote, potentially getting a little bit more experience, is this his chance to really take a bigger role with the team this fall?
Well, I think he's going to have to step up this week, with Steele being out, and he's coming off of that nagging injury, and so now he's healthy again, and I think when you combine the injury with the fact that he kind of went through preseason not being sure if he was going to play, now he's starting to come around, so now it's about the time he's got to step up.
The issues running the ball against Penn State were kind of a concern, I think, to a lot of Buckeye fans and seemingly to the Buckeye coaches as well. How many of those issues, though, were related to potentially pad level and things like that coaches love to talk about? They have, you have to remember, they have guys with tackle bodies like Paris Johnson and Thayer Munford playing guard, which is, those are typically different kinds of builds. So is that a concern, pad level with kind of tackle bodies playing guard? You'll hear Day's answer to that. And then you'll also hear a follow-up from Bill Landis of The Athletic.
No, I don't think so. Those guys are doing a great job in there and have, I just think it was more of, making adjustments on some of the looks that we got. And it wasn't, some of the plays were blocked pretty good, and just the timing of everything and didn't quite, pop things out to the next level, but there was other things that we didn't block very well either. So it's a little bit of everything in there. But no, those guys, I think, can go to tackle, they can go to guard, they can move around. They're pretty versatile in there. And they have good flexibility, so they can get underneath guys inside.
And down on the red zone, I know you said you were overall fairly pleased with what you had called, and maybe execution was a problem. We've seen you in the past use a lot of, jet motion, orbit motion, just to kind of create some movement down there, and you guys didn't really seem to do much of that. What's the balance between trying to dress some stuff up that way and then just sort of running what you run?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, when you do stuff like that, you're not sure of the look. When you stay stationary, you can kind of identify what the look is, and then try to get into the best play possible. And so that's what we're doing in that game.
Now, those red zone struggles came up again later in the press conference. And the play calling did seem fairly vanilla in the red zone on Saturday night. So was that an intentional thing to challenge the offensive lineman? You'll hear Day's answer on that. And you'll also hear a follow-up from Jeremy Birmingham of Letterman Row.
Well, I think, you have to be able to win down in the red zone running the football. You just do. If you want to go win championships, you have to be able to do that. And we didn't do that well enough down there. And 3 and 4 yard gains have to turn into 5 and 6, we've done a really good job of throwing down there. We have to do a better job of running the ball, and that's just the bottom line. And but there was also some things that got us out of whack in terms of penalties. We get the ball 4th and 1, and down there, and we're going to go for it, and we false start. We false started to make it 2nd and 13 or whatever that was, and anytime you do that down there, when you're fighting for every inch, it's going to get you out of whack. We hadn't done that in the past, and that, we score on those 2 possessions, maybe you feel a little better as well.
On the other side of that, the recruiting weekend that you guys had, obviously you have a night game, you have 50-some visitors in. you did things a little different, had a lot of meetings during the day. And how exhausting was this weekend for you guys as a staff? And do you feel like that's a standard or a practice that you guys are going to try to do in the future?
Yeah, it was a long week and a long weekend for sure. There was a lot going on. It was great. I thought that just the night in general was off the charts. I thought Gene and the whole administration, everybody at Ohio State, the fans. I mean, it was a memorable night. Just the way that everything was run was really first class. And it was great for our recruits and their families to be around it and to see it. And I thought everything about that went well. But yeah, there's a lot going on, a lot to juggle on a weekend like that. With so many visitors and families, and they're a priority for us when they get on campus. But we also have to go win against Penn State and win a game, and so. But that's kind of college football. You have to be able to juggle a lot of balls and be able to handle it.
Now, after a big recruiting weekend like that, is there an expectation that it will pay immediate dividends in terms of commitments? You'll hear Day's answer to that, and then you'll hear a follow-up from Stephen Means of Cleveland.com.
It's just a piece of the puzzle. It's part of the relationship building. And anytime you come on campus, you get a chance to see something different, whether it's meeting with somebody from the business school or going to a basketball game or, spending time with the position coach or going to see campus or whatever that is. Coming to a game is a special experience. And that's, another box that these guys are able to check off with their families. And I have to give, Mark Pantoni and his staff a lot of credit. I mean, they're the ones that are behind all of it in terms of the organization and managing all of those people, and there's a lot to that, and I thought they were excellent.
Just switch gears a little bit. This was the first time in a couple of weeks CJ has actually been kind of challenged out there. Didn't look easy for him the entire time. Maybe how do you think he handled Saturday in comparison to maybe how he ended the Oregon game?
Yeah. No, I mean, I thought he played well and made some good throws. I think he wished he had some plays back, but again, anytime you're competing against somebody like Penn State and a really good defense, one of the top in the country, you're gonna have good plays and bad plays, and we talk about all the time, like, reality isn't just going in and scoring on 19 straight possessions. That's not reality. I mean, reality is it's hard, it's tough, every decision matters. If we're gonna have penalties or we're gonna have mistakes, then we're gonna get ourselves off schedule, and that's just the reality of it. So again, I think a lot to learn from this game, but overall, I thought he played winning football. He didn't grade out a champion, but there was still a lot of positives there.
The Buckeyes will try to keep all of those positives coming this weekend in Lincoln when they take on Nebraska. We will have much more on that game coming up all week long, and we'll have those on all of our podcast platforms, on YouTube. So make sure you subscribe on your podcast platform. Just search Buckeye Scoop. You can find all of our podcasts there. You can subscribe, leave us a 5-star rating and review, which helps other folks find those shows. And also on our YouTube channel. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that bell, subscribe to our channel, youtube.com/Buckeye Scoop. Post all of our podcasts there. We'll do our pregame shows there, our postgame shows there, all that good stuff. If you subscribe, you get notified every time we go live, every time we post a new video, so you never miss anything. How easy is that? That'll do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.